Okay, so I did my infograph all on the sense of touch. And touch is a very powerful sense that we have as humans because it starts while we're in the womb. So basically, how it works, if I can zoom out. So, touch is regulated through the somatosensory system, consisting of two pathways between nerve endings experiencing stimulation in the skin to the brain and back. So, like I said, there are two pathways. The first pathway consists of, it's called the afferent pathway, and it goes from your touch receptors into the brain and the spinal cord. So, it carries information from the skin receptors to the brain to be analyzed, processed, and formulates a picture of the object. So basically, when I touch a book, all of the information regarding its texture, its weight, if I pick it up, the feel of the pages, how heavy it is, all of that stuff is sent to the brain through this pathway number one, and it's analyzed, processed, and it formulates a picture of the object. So it formulates a picture of the book into my head. And then pathway number two, also known as your efferent pathway, determines the appropriate reaction to the touch, whatever it may be, such as pain, social bonding, or pleasure. So for instance, when I touch and pick up a Harry Potter book, I feel very pleased and happy because I love Harry Potter and I'm associating really good memories to Harry Potter. So there are many different types of touch. There are different categories, I guess I should say. Let me zoom in over here. So, the first type of touch is intimate. It can be soothing. It can make you feel comfortable, and it can be a comforting type of action. So when someone gives you a hug, that touch that you feel on your skin relaxes you, and you feel at ease, basically. So that's what the intimate, soothing type of touch is. Then you have a healing type of touch. It can be physically soothing, and it relaxes the muscles. While this guy looks like he's not really relaxed, it's physically relaxing his muscles. She's digging those knots out of him. Another example of healing touch is another common one is acupuncture. And I would even say, like, with those beta endorphins, like after you stub your toe, if you rub your toe, it makes it feel a little bit better. That's a healing type of touch. The next type of touch is exploratory. So it's coming into contact with something for the first time, identifying an object without looking at it. So if a person is blind, using Braille as a form of reading is a prime example of touch and exploratory. They're not relying on their eyes to process information. It's coming solely from touch. Another example that one of the articles that I got my sources information from was saying that girls actually use this a lot when they're digging into their purse without looking and they're able to feel for their keys or chapstick or their wallet. That ability to identify texture, shape, weight of something and to know what it is without actually looking at it is all from touch. And lastly, and I would like to argue the most important one is the painful type of touch. So when there's too much pressure, something's too hot, the temperature is off, or something's wrong, something's too sharp, the brain sends a signal that something's wrong, and that allows us to have those cat-like reflexes to remove our hand from that burning stove. And that also would probably make us swear a little bit. But the touch has nothing to do with that. That's just our reaction. But the touch has a really big say in how quickly we move our hand away, how fast those pathways are communicating. So then finally, I just have some quick did you know facts. So touch is the first sense we develop in the womb, and it's really important, like I mentioned earlier, because a lack of touch in childhood can lead to depression, stunted growth, poor immune systems, type 2 diabetes. I read a couple articles, and it dealt with just how crucial touch is at an early stage, and that it's really important that a mother and father especially are picking up their babies, regularly and making sure that there's skin contact between them. And another one that I thought was interesting, especially since we're in the athletic training field, is that studies show that touch, like such as fist bumping, has positive performance results for teams. And it's really interesting because when I did my first clinical rotation at IPFW, the volleyball players, they would high-five each other after every play, whether it was a horrendous, awful play or whether it was the greatest play they'd ever made in their entire lives. They always high-fived, they always fist-bumped, they always slapped each other on the back. And it's interesting that it leads to positive results for teams because it shows just how much touch has an effect on people and their confidence and how comfortable they feel around another person, even though we aren't even remotely registering that touch has that kind of impact on us. So I thought that was interesting. And then down here you have my sources. I know that they're really tiny, but they're in AMA format. And I believe that's it. Yeah, and this is my infograph on touch.